Hi, I'm Steve. Welcome to my studio. A couple weeks ago, I uploaded a video showing the process of making a profile with my Kemper of my Marshall JCM2000 DSL100, which has a custom modification from Voodoo amps. Now, in the first video, the profile I pulled from my Marshall is a real good classic rock type sound. Not a whole lot of overdrive, just a good ballsy sound. And it's great for what it is, but I did it like that on purpose because I wanted to also be able to show what can be done with the tools that are built into the Kemper to take it from a good sound and profile to just a great sound. At the beginning of the video, you heard me doing some jam, and it was just some stuff off the top of my head. What I started with was the original profile that I pulled in the last video. Then the next thing you heard was some really crunchy, heavy stuff. Those were both made from that same profile. All I did was do some tweaking using what's available to all of us in the Kemper. So let's dive in and check it out. Okay, so I've pulled up a copy of the profile I made in the last video, and just to kind of refresh you. Now, that's a good, ballsy, crunchy, classic rock type sound. It's got some huevos to it. But if you want to take it and do more with it, well, with the Kemper, you can do that. Let's jump in. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do, you see here where it says amp model, and it says Kemper generic. Well, that's just a generic Kemper profile. Okay, so I've chosen to kind of graft on the tone stack of the normal channel of an old school Marshall Plexi. Now, the underlying profile is still my DSL100, but kind of think of it like I pulled all of the controls and circuitry out and grafted on those from an old late 60s Marshall. Now, if you've never played one of those older Marshalls, they behave quite a bit different. They don't have a master volume. The way you get your gain is you crank the amp up, and boy, are they loud. Now, here in the Kemper world, you do have a gain control. So I'm gonna bump that up a little bit. So it still sounds like the same profile, but with a lot more balls. So I'm gonna mess with the EQ here. Another trick was, back in the day, you used to kind of jack up the EQ knobs, especially the mids and highs, to get them pretty much as high as you could stand. And that also added more gain to what was being sent to the power section of the Marshall. Okay, let's hear how that sounds. Now, it still sounds very similar, but you've got a little more of that characteristic Marshall bite to it, which those amps had in spades. I think that sounds pretty good. Let's add some effects and see what we get. Put some delay on it and some reverb. I'm gonna bring some more low end into it. Now, these Plexis, it's not like turning up the bass on your stereo or anything. These will definitely flub out, so I gotta be careful. You've got all kinds of stuff you can mess with. Now, on the original profile, I put a low cut of 60 hertz on it because I'm running a subwoofer setup behind my desk here, and the amount of ultra low end that was coming out of that, I mean, it sounds great on its own, but if you get it into a mix with a kick drum and a bass guitar, it's gonna sound like ass. It's gonna just muddy things up. So I pulled the low cut up to 60 hertz. Okay, let's go back to the amplifier section here. Now here you've got a whole mess of controls. Definition does something to the high end. We'll be getting to that in a little bit here. I'm not quite sure how to say what it does, but it adds definition to what you're playing, which is, in the Kemper, it works great. Power sagging, older amps, the tubes would kind of give if you dug in harder. The power sagging will let you kind of simulate that. The pick amplifies your pick attack. The compressor, this is an odd duck here. Now the compressor is similar to the effect that tubes compressing will have. So it's not like digging into your amp and putting an MXR compressor between your preamp and your power amp. It's nothing like that. But it basically will give you the effect of more tube compression, which is kind of what the first compressor pedals were trying to do. Next, we have the clarity control that adds characteristics of what the guitar signal sounds like before it's amplified without actually adding the clean sound. And now I use this quite a bit in a lot of my sounds, because what I've found is for single note lines and lead stuff, it kind of gives more of a roundness to the tone. So let's mess with this a little bit. I like that right around halfway. Now, if you move over here to tube shape, this basically shapes the sound as it would come out of tubes. Now, I always leave this where the profile sets it, which is 3.3. It always seems to come out there, so that sounds like a good number. A tube bias, you can bias your tubes hotter. Direct mix actually mixes in your direct guitar signal. Not something I use, but hey. And then amp volume will turn up the volume of your amp in comparison to other sounds. All right, I'm going to fine tune these just a little bit more. Bring this down just a touch because it's sounding like it wants to flub. Now, something else the Kemper does that I don't see touched on a whole lot, and for me, it's a feature I can't live without. And unfortunately, right now, the new Kemper Player pedal doesn't have this feature. I'm hoping they'll add it in the future because for me, it's a deal breaker. But it's what they call the morph feature. Now, you can access that here in the software. Notice when this little bar comes across. Now, what morph is, any of the continuously controllable settings in the Kemper can be morphed to a different state. So I can turn my gain. You can do it instantaneously with a switch. You can do it with an expression pedal, or you can even set it to ramp up over time with a switch. I usually use it instantaneously. So anyway, I'm gonna make a couple changes here, like say I'm setting up a lead sound. So if I'm setting up a lead sound, one of the first things I do is I back off the high end a little bit. I mean, I like clarity and definition, but I don't like it to be bitey. So I'll back off on the treble a little bit too. Now you'll see these lines being drawn here. This indicates a morph. See, I'm in the morph state right now over here. So this tells me when I'm on blue, these are what the controls will be. Now, for definition and power sagging, so I'm gonna bump that up to about 2.8, 3, somewhere in there. I hope I don't get a copyright strike for that. Now, for definition, I think on something like this, I'd boost it up a little bit, though. Now for me, that just kind of brings out what I call the stringiness, the string definition. And I like that a lot. Okay, and last but not least, I still like to add some overdrive into it. Now, I've used Kemper's idea of a tube screamer type of pedal, and I've already set this up. The way this is set up, if Morph is turned off, oh, I think I got it backwards. Yes, I do. Okay, the way I want it, if Morph is turned off, the mix is turned all the way down, so you don't hear the pedal at all. If you hit Morph, then the pedal comes in, and you hear it. Turn it off first. All right, just to give you an example of what this does, I'm gonna start in the unmorph position with the mix all the way down. And then I'm gonna click on the morph here, and you should hear some more fullness, more body, and more just overall balls. So anyway. I'm going to start in the unmorphed position here and gradually go back and forth so you can hear the difference and the difference that it makes. So there you go. That's just a few things that you can do once you've got a profile going in your Kemper. You can make all kinds of adjustments and do a lot of things to it to make it sound even better. So dive in, twist some knobs, mix and match some amp topologies. Who knows, you may come up with something that's all your own and brand new. If you like this video and you haven't already, please make sure to hit the like button and also go ahead and hit subscribe while you're at it. That shows YouTube that people like my videos, and in turn, they spread it around to more and more people. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.